It's been a year. We've had High Elves for a year. I've played them a bunch, but not as much as I thought I would be. So High Elves have been my main army for quite a long time. And while they play very well in the old world, especially competitively, for me, they lost a little bit too much flavor to be interesting. So an effective High Elf army will probably have Sisters of Avalorn as your core choice. Having 17 to 20 as your core choice is commonly seen in competitive lists. Your general has to be Handmaiden of the Everqueen to do so. I don't like that mechanic. I want to see core being core. And the core for High Elves are just. So their archers are decent for what they do, especially since they can be 5-man squads. They're not overpriced. I think archers are in a fine spot, but you don't want just archers, especially since in this edition, I love the push and pull of combat and fall back in order in that mechanic. So I want to be brawling in combat. The archers aren't going to do that for you, but they do have a place and they're useful. Lothar and Seaguard are pretty good, but you're going to spend a lot of points on them. You got some spear attacks. You have your Elven initiative, so you're going to be initiative 6 when you get charged. So you're probably going to fight at least at the same time as most other things, except for the things that are going to kill them are characters and big bads. You're not going to do anything to them anyway. And you get your bows as well, which can get some work done. But your spearmen, unfortunately, they got no play. Even if you lower their points, they don't have much play. They don't do anything. Because infantry doesn't kill for the most part this edition, which I'm okay with. I have no problem with that. But they don't do anything else. They don't hold. They have no special rules. It's an interesting problem brought about in the game by the add-on of the horde and most importantly the warband special rule. We're seeing goblins, supposed to be this unruly mob, be more disciplined and effective at holding than regular infantry. For example, like Empire State Troops and High Elf Spearmen basically have no rules, whereas every gore, ungore, half-human beast thing and goblin has a rule called Warband, which is so impactful in the game, allowing you to reroll your charges and add your rank bonus to your leadership. That is very effective, and leadership is a very effective stat this edition. So we're seeing goblins commonly with really good leadership. We see gore, whether or not in the skirmish formation, with really good leadership. I'm not trying to say spearmen are trash. They just don't. They're in a spot of in a game where infantry doesn't do a whole lot. They do even less, which is unfortunate. And there's no fix for it. Like amongst all the infantry in the game, the only ones really used are specialized elite things. There are some examples even in this book that we'll talk about, and then infantry with warband, which is more commonly seen amongst the quote bad guy armies. But we also see that in the Bretonnian peasants. Like Bretonnian will bring men at arms to combat because the warband special rule does help out quite a bit, and there's some other things as well. But it's the cheap feral infantry with the warband special rule, which is far more useful than the professional soldier that is the Empire State Troop or the High Elf Spearmen. Yeah, just the Spearmen just don't do it for me. Silverhelms as core choice, which is not a bad core choice. You have decently fast, initiative 5 cav, weapon skill 4, lances, first charge, which is fantastic. Honestly, if these Silverhelms had counter charge, they might be too good actually. Silverhelms are a decent troop choice. They don't fit the way I envision High Elves. I almost rather see Silverhelms as a special unit choice, not a core choice. But hey, why am I complaining? That's a good thing. So High Elves, I think, are a very powerful army. They're a very strong army. This book is mixed between things that are up here and things that are down here. There's a lot up here, and you play with the stuff up here, you're going to do very well. But stuff over here, it's kind of meh and boring. And that's where I see the dragon characters. Very powerful. Sisters of Avalorn? Yeah, very powerful. Spearmen. I want to bring spearmen. I want to bring the backbone of my army. I want to bring the basic troop that is supposed to be the the masses of the army. They're supposed to be the actual army. I want to bring them, but they gave you no reason whatsoever to bring spearmen. Same as Empire State Troops, same problem. Empire State Troops, High Elf Spearmen. It's supposed to be the army, but there's absolutely no reason to bring them. Which is an interesting complaint to have, because we have good things that we can bring. Our light chariots do decent impact attacks. I think they're solid. Dragon Princes, even though they have Impetuous, Initiative 5, Counter Charge, 2 attacks apiece, Weapon Skill 5, all these things are great on Cav. This is Cav with Impetuous that I have consistently done well with. Dragon Princes are pretty solid. You have a Heavy Chariot with a Lion Chariot. You have some War Machines with the Bolt Throwers, which are in a good spot. You have several tiers of Dragon, but you just bring the Star Dragon. Elven characters on Star Dragons can muck things up. You want to bring a prince or two on a Star Dragon, give them points. You're going to do very, very well. It is not that uncommon in the old days to see, the old days, I'm talking 8 months ago. Excuse me, the old days are 8 months ago. To see Elven Wizards, Elven Mages on Dragons as well. Charging into combat with their high magic, walk between worlds, making them ethereal. So these have a mechanic where you put your wizard on a dragon, charge into combat, and then turn your whole dragon ethereal, so your opponent couldn't even hurt you. That got FAQ'd out. You can't do that anymore, but there is still some play with a mage on a dragon. Now, this is the part of the video I've been trying not to get to. I said from day one, Swordmasters are trash. Some of you are finally starting to get it. Swordmasters are trash. They are too expensive. They just have one attack. They don't survive long enough to do anything. They got a little bit of armor. They got Magician's Wand. They have a few things that can help out in minor situations. They don't have enough punch to offset their frailty to their points. Of their 3 Elven Elite Infantries, we have Swordmasters, White Lions, and Phoenix Guard. The Swordmasters, I don't think you can effectively play them in a block in this game. I think the push and pull of combat, eventually they lose too much and you've lost too many points. So you think, okay, maybe I'll take my Swordmasters and play them as just small units of 5 or 10, even 7, just 7 models as a flanking force. The problem is, it turns out that, in my experience, White Lions do that job better. When you need to do that little flanking thing, the strength 6 you get from the White Lions just greatly outpaces the strength 5 of the Swordmaster. Like, the Swordmaster can't do it can't do reliable damage to a monster. It can't plink off that last couple of wounds when you're wounding on 5s. You obviously could get it, but it's too big of a risk, I find, more often than not. I can't find a job for the Swordmasters. You know what the Swordmasters excel at? Is if Initiative 3 Heavy Cav charge Swordmasters in the front. Then the Swordmasters swing first and likely swing the combat to the Swordmasters, maybe only lose by 1. Maybe they win the fight. But you know what that Heavy Cav is really good at doing? Not charging Swordmasters in the front. It just gets around them. It goes to the side. And yeah, I sorry to trail on this. I know I've upset some people. It has not been my goal to upset you guys about the Swordmasters, but I think more and more people are coming around to the fact that the Swordmasters ain't it. White Lions, similar thing. They don't really do well in a big block of combat dudes, but you can play them that way, and I still do. Luca does. We all kind of do that around here, but they're more efficient at smaller squads of just like flanking. Now, if you want to bring elite infantry and you put them in a block, the Phoenix Guard do their job. Full plate makes a difference. They have full plate armor and a 6-up horde save. They have magical attacks built in with halberds, so they are strength 4 AP1. Strength 4 AP1 is not great. Armor across the board in this game being lower is often enough to get the work done. And they have a special rule where those halberds can fight in 2 ranks if they didn't charge. So they act like spears where they didn't charge. So you get quite a lot of attacks. Stick around and play the push and pull of combat. This is the squad. But playing competitive Warhammer, remember that you're probably not bringing any of these squads. You play your Sisters of Avalorn, you play Hard to Get and Big Fighty Monsters, or MSU, super mobile. And blocks of infantry, even with movement 5, aren't that mobile. Magic items are nothing to complain about. There's a few good things. Pick a 5th spell, Silvery Wand, solid pick for your wizards. Unless there's absolutely spell you need, the Lore Familiar just cuts it for everybody. Like Lore Familiar still auto-include for everybody, especially armies like... Oh, geez, there's not an army that doesn't want to bring a Lore Familiar, but a few armies have items like the Silvery Wand, which gives you an additional spell. I find, even though Warriors of Chaos have an item called the Lore Familiar, where it allows you to generate 5 spells. I will often do it with them, but my high elves, I don't bring the Silvery Wand that often. I go right for the 30-point more expensive Lore Familiar and pick my spells, because I'm often taking high magic because I love high magic. I love Tempest, and I never want to risk not having Tempest. I'll pay the extra points for just that guaranteed Tempest. I think Tempest synergizes very well with elves, turning off your opponent's rank bonuses by disrupting them from that spell or stopping them from charging you. I think Tempest is a fantastic spell. I think it's my favorite spell in the entire game, but I think it synergizes very well with fast-moving things like elves. I think Tempest and elves work out super well. High elves for me have lost a bit of their flavor. They don't seem to have any special rules anymore, really, amongst their units. Their units used to be filled with special rules. I bet you if you take anybody who's been a lifelong fan of dwarves, they might say that they've lost a little bit of their special thing. They're probably right. This was my main army for so long, and I'm more aware of it here than I guess the other armies. Nowadays, I play every army. I have every army, every model. I'm so blessed in that regard. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, allowing me to do that. So I have experience with every army nowadays, and it's awesome. And the only one that I feel has lost a bit, and I'm sure there's others, is the high elves for me. That's my criticism of them, but I can't say they're a bad army. I can't. I'd be lying if I said they were underpowered. I'd be lying if I said they needed a buff, because that's definitely not what I'm saying, for sure. They can definitely play up. Effective lists, 2 ways of playing them. Multiple characters on dragons. Just beat down your opponent. Your core is probably going to be archers, maybe reavers, but more likely silver helms. Bolt Thors and wizards are not a bad option or bad inclusion in that list. But another way of playing is just Handmaiden of the Everqueen as your general. Make Sisters of Avalorn core. That squad's going to kill your opponent's big bad. You just avoid them from getting anything into combat. You avoid combat. You avoid letting your opponent play the way they want to play. Bring wizards. Fill the rest of your points up with wizards and things that move around fast and ideally shoot or hit real hard. I think Dragon Princes work well in that list as well, as long as you can keep them from getting baited out from their own impetuous. You just play the game where you avoid, you whittle down with magic and Sisters of Avalorn, and then you send in some Dragon Princes. So either you play hard to get and very magic with Handmaiden as your general, with Avalorn as core, or you go with a full Prince fighty character and go give him the hammer. And House can do that very well. Well, if the army you want to see re-reviewed isn't out yet, it's coming out, I promise you. We're recording these all in pretty much 2 days, right, Jackson?
Yeah,
we're doing 2 days, maybe 3. But we're going to get them all out for you. The video's coming out soon, I promise. Think about joining the channel. Without channel members, we cannot keep this channel afloat. We just do lots of streams, lots of battle reports. We stream every Wednesday and Thursday night at 5:30. You all know that by now. Handheld classic style battle reports every Sunday for members only, in the members only part of this channel. Think about joining the channel. Click the join button. Once you click that button, you're not committed to join. But click it, find out what you get becoming a channel member. You might want to do that. Maybe not. Either way, like, comment, subscribe. It's all super helpful. See you in the next video. Happy wargaming.